Hello everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of Talking Drew with You, an unofficial podcast dissecting the new hit movie Uncle Drew. Now, I have been told that it has been best to preface this podcast by saying that it is no way affiliated with Summit Entertainment or the film Uncle Drew. That being said, let's get right into it. About an hour ago this evening, I returned home from the theater from seeing this film, Uncle Drew. And really, no one goes into a movie thinking that they'll create a probably award-winning podcast based on said movie, right? You would be insane. And if we're being honesty hour here, going into Uncle Drew, man, I thought it would be a poor attempt at comedy, at film, an expression for art. One of those giant movies that just cram celebrities into them and play off of really cheap jokes. And, you know, I went in judgmental, and that was the wrong thing, because coming out of that theater, not only did I want to start a podcast, I was a changed man. Uncle Drew is a theater experience that I don't think I will ever forget. That being said, for those, if you're unfamiliar, I don't know how you want to be unfamiliar with Uncle Drew, because there's been so many advertisements out. My friends have been saying they've seen this at least advertised for a year. Do I know if that's true? I don't know. I'm still in the works of becoming an Uncle Drew historian and aficionado. So bear with me. This is amateur hour on a podcast here, but we're gonna get through it. We're gonna get through the bugs. We're gonna get through everything. And we're gonna talk Drew. So if you're unfamiliar with the plot, if you haven't seen any of the advertisements at all, here's what the Wikipedia says. After draining his life savings to enter a team in the Rucker Classic street basketball tournament in Harlem, Dax, played by Lil Ray Howery, is dealt a series of unfortunate setbacks, including losing his team to his longtime rival, played by Nick Kroll. Dax, who is desperate to win the tournament and the cash prize of $100,000, Dax stumbles upon the man, the myth, the legend, Uncle Drew, played by Kyrie Irving, and convinces him to return to the court one more time. The two men embark on a road trip to round up Drew's old basketball squad, and that squad includes Shaquille O'Neal, Chris Webber, Reggie Miller, Nate Robinson, and Lisa Leslie, and prove that a group of... That is a huge word, even for Wikipedia. That is a $20,000 word. Septuagenarians can still win the big one. Honestly, should have been more prepared, but we're going to Google what this word means, folks. People in podcasts say folks, so it seems to work. Search Google for a person who is from 70 to 79 years old. You can't just say old cats. We're going to rewrite this Wikipedia article. I'm going in, I'm editing, changing septuagenarians to, let's see, that the two men embark on a road trip to round up Drew's old basketball squad, Shaquille O'Neal, Reggie Miller, Nate Robinson, and all, and prove that a group of old basketballing cats still got it. Can still win the big one. Okay, awesome. Already making strides here in the preservation, the retelling of Uncle Drew. Wikipedia, hope that this goes through. That's just... And was that in the pitch? That makes me think that would have been in the pitch if whoever this screenwriter is, who isn't listed on the... Oh, he is listed on the Wikipedia. I wonder if Jay Longino walked into the Summit Entertainment building, tallest building in the world, and just walked in there and said the word septuagenarians in front of a board, and then they gave him $17 million to make this movie, which honestly, not enough. They worked with what they had, and they made this piece that is before us. So, getting a little bit sidetracked here with etymology and semantics, but that's okay. We're learning too. It's all about learning about Drew, and it's talking Drew. So bear with me here. The premise is pretty easy. This guy, Dax, who's pretty funny joke in the movie. Nick Kroll's character points out that Dax, D-A-X, sounds like dicks, like a penis. Anyway, so Dax, which sounds like dicks, which is just, oh my god. So Dax loses his team. Nick Kroll's character, whose name is Mookie, by the way, awesome, but wasn't Mookie a baseball player? It's whatever. So, back to Uncle Drew. Dax is at the top of his game. He works at a Foot Locker, but he's at the top of his game. He's coaching the best team ever in Harlem street basketball, because there's tournaments and they're televised and they're on Sports Center, Harlem Sports. It's street basketball, and it's a national. Okay, it's a local event in this gentrified neighborhood of New York. But that being aside, he's coaching the best of the best. The best of the best. They're hot. They're not all white. So good for a movie, and good for basketball. I'm gonna edit that one out. Chiseled men that I would be intimidated by. Even in a game of chess, they're good-looking, smart men. They've got their head in the game, as Troy Bolton would say, and they're damn good at basketball. I assume that these men were basketball players first and actors second, but whoever made this movie is so damn good at their job, it's hard to tell which came first. Actor, basketball player. These guys know how to ball, and these guys know how to hit their mark and say their lines, let me tell you. And this is just in like the first opening of the movie. We open up on a mock-umentary of like a fake 30 for 30 ESPN, and I don't need to take you through the whole movie, but essentially this guy's coaching the best players in the radius of however big Harlem is, and enters Nick Kroll, which, sidebar, honestly, I thought Nick Kroll was blackfacing this entire time. I know. Whoa. Let's get right into it. Nick Kroll is a very white person. Some would say Jewish, because I can assure you that he is. And catching the trailers and the promo art and looking at the bobbleheads and the merch for this movie, they tried to make Nick Kroll look as much as Steph Curry as possible. And I thought maybe this is a joke, hoping it was, hoping it wasn't an RDJ Tropic Thunder situation or like a 1930s clown situation, and just straight, he's just trying to look cool. I honestly thought that they fixed his complexion up a little bit. They dialed him, they toned him up, and I wouldn't say blackface, but I would say it's some light skin face. But as soon as we see him, he says he's white, which I'm sure genius move on the screenwriter and the director's part here, because going into this thing, I was thinking that I was about to read some articles about this. But anyway, Nick Kroll's character, his name's Mookie, he's won the past 7 of these Harlem basketball tournaments. That's 7 years in a row. He has them tattooed on his arm. There's a awesome gag where he pulls up his shirt, and on his abs he has tattooed the championship title in years. Now, if that's not a badass tattoo, like, hello, I don't know what is. Anyway, so this guy Dax, he works at a Foot Locker, and the reason that his team is the best, or is the reason that the best team in Harlem is staying with this rather schleppy coach that works a retail job, is because at Foot Locker, he can get them the hookup, which is honestly a smart move. I told you these guys were smart. These basketball players, oh my god, like, they could beat me in a game of chess and on the court, all right? So they have the hookup. They're playing this guy like a fiddle, right? They're buying Jordan shoes at a very discounted price, and then not even buying them, just telling Dax, the coach, to use his own credit card and his own employee discount, which honestly, sorry for the pun, but baller move on their point. So they've been playing them like a fiddle this whole time, and we find out that Nick Kroll's character has recruited them and did not want to pay for the Jordan shoes. And now this guy is teamless. This guy is wrecked, is abandoned. His Tiffany Haddish, who is just playing herself in this movie, so literally Tiffany Haddish in this movie, breaks up with him, leaves him, and he's homeless. He's carrying around his clothes in a trash bag. It's just the guy's left in ruin. And this movie has some teared up moments, and this is just the beginning. You see this guy, bottom of his luck. He's recruiting. We get a quick montage of what all's going on. He's going and recruiting all these other awesome basketball stars, but guess what? He freaked out. He tried tearing the shoes off of his old team when they left him. Someone taped that and put that boy on SportsCenter. And now SportsCenter, one of the old white guys on there, put him on national television, and he's recognized by everybody in the world at this point as a failure and a screw up. So when the whole world thinks you suck, you kind of start to think that, yeah, maybe I do suck. So he's trying to recruit these guys. He's trying to rebuild his team from the ground up. And this is when he encounters this old man who goes by the name of, you guessed it, Uncle Drew. Now, Uncle Drew is a bit of a legend. Back in the 60s, him and his team basically created the whole Harlem basketball scene. They have been balling since day one. They are at the top of the top. That 30 for 30 that I mentioned and never talked about until now, all about Uncle Drew and how he was the best and how he was getting with all of his opponents as girlfriends. And it was the 60s. He had a shaggin' wagon, he had a van, and he had magic on the court. He was the greatest basketball player of all time, I'll be darned. And he disappeared, vanished entirely. So cut back to Dick's on the street, everything he owns in a trash sack, trying to recruit players. They're all brushing him off. He's just watching some pickup basketball, and a smart-mouthed old man starts talking trash to some team, talking about how all the young bloods, as they put it, all these millennials, all these freaking goofs, not knowing how to play the game. They're playing the game with what they've got in between their legs and not what's in between their ears, their brain. They're not using their brain. And it's all about the insults, and it's all about the cool clothes, and it's all about the alley-oops and basketball terminology. And he's not all about that. And so Uncle Drew's been talking smack. And do I want to go out on a limb and say one of the greatest scenes in cinematic history? I feel like everyone already knows at this point if they've seen UD, which is what we're referring Uncle Drew as at this point, a bit of abbreviation to shorten things up, because this is shortening things up. Uncle Drew balls these guys up, kind of gives them a bait, pretends to be an old man. He is an old man, but he's acting like an old man on the court, and they're gaining on him, and I don't know if they're playing horse. I don't know if they're just playing basketball that's convenient to the plot. That could never happen. So Uncle Drew has gotten to the point where it's like 1v5, this team of like epic basketball street ballers, and they've got 1 point on them. They've got one more shot to make, and they will win. And Uncle Drew won't even ever to grace that court again, is the deal that he promised. And he balls them the heck up. Let me tell you, we don't need to get into the entire movie. I don't need to play you every play. You need to go in and you need to see it. But this is, again, full spoiler talk for Uncle Drew. We're nearly 15 minutes in, folks, and if you have not seen Uncle Drew and you're still listening, get out of here. Email me. I will Venmo you the $15 it'll probably cost to see this movie. Drinks included. Just go out and you have to see this. So the premise is Dix has found his player, his new star, who he thinks at first could just be a great septuagenarian coach to some new young blood players, but Uncle Drew wants to do it on his terms. He wants to get his old team back. That's right. Wants to get his old team back, reunite them for the 50th anniversary of the Harlem Rock, the basketball tournament. And guy's got his whole life in a trash bag. Doesn't have too much of a choice. So what does he do? He heads off, and they find the other players. Hey guys, just wanted to take a quick break as the story was sort of ramping up to a good start there. Just wanted to let you guys know, preface again, we are not affiliated with the film Uncle Drew in any shape or form, or Summon Entertainment, or Lionsgate Pictures, or Lids. But let me tell you something about Lids. Lids, the hardware company, has teamed up with Lionsgate and Summit for Uncle Drew merchandising. That's right. If you just go to www.lids.com, you can go browse front page. It's right there. Go click on the Uncle Drew collection, or you can go to www.lids.com/uncle-drew-movie. And let me tell you guys, this collection is worth it. I will try and start building up my armory of Uncle Drew merchandise. We have all kinds of snapbacks for new era and old school, the young bloods. We've got t-shirts. We have jerseys. You can get your favorite character's jersey, which is quite awesome. They have socks. They have slides for those socks. You've got Uncle Drew basketballs, Uncle Drew bobbleheads even. You can get your very own Nick Kroll bobblehead. We're talking t-shirts, we're talking Spalding branded basketballs, socks, all brought to you by Lids, Locker Room by Lids, guys. So again, that is www.lids.com/uncle-drew-movie. One more time, third and final, that's www.lids.com/uncle-drew-movie. Gonna try and work, see what we can do, maybe get a podcast promo code set up, maybe, so we can get some kickback. Yeah, guys, free shipping options. If you sign up, you get up to 20% off on Lids. That's lids.com/uncle-drew-movie. Go get yourself some merch, because you deserve it. And now, back to the show, I guess. Alright, I'm back. I left you off where Drew and Dix have set out in the shaggin' wagon to find all these other players. Now, again, at this point, I've told you to go see the movie. If you're listening, if you're a true listener, you've seen the film. We know what happens. He finds all the other players, and we don't need to talk about how the movie ends. We need to talk about how darn good of a movie this is. I want to dissect some of the themes in this film. We have heavy themes of friendship, of not judging the book by its cover, more into all of these later, of marriage even, and what it means to be a friggin' baller, okay? So, let me pause for a drink real quick, because we're talking Drew, and I get parched. If we look at the performance of this film so far, it's, as of the date of recording, it is 2:03 in the morning. It is the first day of July, meaning Uncle Drew has only been out 2 days in the United States. And if we look at some box office information, as of the time of recording, it has made an estimate of $6,130,000. I think that is unacceptable. Just absolutely. Look, we're gearing up for 4th of July. I understand that. People may have some other things to do. People may want to watch another movie, but Uncle Drew isn't really getting the dough that it's deserving. Now, do I believe that it will make its money back? That it will make its $17 million budget back? I believe so. 1,000%. It's got to make its money back. But again, you've all seen the movie. I've urged everyone to see the movie. So what are we going to do? What is the plan of action here? Well, I'm going to see it again. That's right, folks. each episode of this podcast that you listen to, I will have upped my Uncle Drew knowledge by one movie viewing. That's right, this is a weekly podcast. As long as this bad boy is in theaters, I will be seeing it once a week so that we can further investigate and just dissect what I believe to be a cinematic masterpiece. What I honestly, like, everyone has opinions, you know, they're like teeth. Most people have opinions. And like, I understand it's a loaded statement, but Uncle Drew is a good movie. It's phenomenal. And this is where we go, sort of move from the box office into the review portion of the film, which is where I want to say absolutely fantastic. Scale of 1 to 10, I just went on IMDb while we were taking that break and gave it a 10 out of 10. You already know. But I don't think it's getting the reviews that it deserves. So if we go onto the Rotten Tomatoes, which, oh my God, Rotten Tomatoes, give me a break. The tomato meter right now has Uncle Drew ranked at a 66%, which is good because I checked it before walking into the movie and it was at 64. So we are on the way up. On the way up. I haven't added my score yet. I will after the recording of this podcast. But the audience score, guys, I hate to break it to you, but the popcorn bucket has been tipped over. The popcorn is spilling out of the bucket. The audience score is a 49% liked it. I'm not sure what anyone's complaints would be. If we just scroll down here a little bit, it says, one of the top rotten reviews says, Uncle Drew mistakes its goofy pitch for a free pass to be simple with its comedy and sappy with its emotions. Let me tell you, have you not seen the Oscars this year? What have we got? Call Me By Your Name? Timothy Chalamet? More like Timothy... Get out of here. Can't figure out something that has a negative connotation that would rhyme with your last name because it's French and it's dumb. This is America, all right? This is where Shaq should be at the top of the box office. You look at the past award seasons. I was just at the Sundance Film Festival earlier this year. I was there for a movie. I'm not going to promote it because this isn't the place for that. But this movie should have been there. I feel like if we got on track, if we went to the Cannes Critic Week, if we headlined South by Southwest, maybe had some special appearances by Shaq. Now, I'm not saying it's Summit Entertainment. We know you're listening, but I'm not saying that I should be your new guy for when Uncle 2 comes out, which rhymes with Drew. Working title, working script I'm working on. I'm just saying that if I was your guy, I feel like we would have been on track, and we already are on track. I'm doing the best I can. I'm using this podcast to promote and to put your film on a pedestal, the pedestal that I believe that it deserves to be on. It doesn't need to be any more inflated. Adam Graham says, strip away the makeup and the basketball court is all but empty, which makes no sense because if you take this makeup off of Kyrie Irving and Shaquille O'Neal, they're Kyrie Irving and Shaquille O'Neal. They're on the court. The court is not empty. I don't know what kind of Detroit news metaphor that is, Adam. You top critic. Wow. And this next critic has an honest. Oh my God, I can't get through these. But Brad of Globe and Mail, which honestly never heard of it, says Pepsi is one of the film's producers, but Painkiller Leave gets better product placement. Spare some for the arthritic plot, please. Wow. Okay, first you're calling the plot arthritic. You want to know what's arthritic? The shape of water. Guillermo del Toro, more like Guillermo del Boro. That's right, boring. If I want to see someone chase a cat in a movie, I'm not. I'm going to go outside and I'm going to chase some cats. Because I live in the Midwest, and that's how we spend our time. The arthritic plot? I think you mean invigorating plot. You know how I mentioned this film was a tearjerker? You bet your bottom dollar it's a tearjerker. I about lost my stuff, and I about wanted to throw some hands with Tiffany Haddish. I was about to risk getting some 10-inch nails thrown in my face because I wanted to assault Tiffany Haddish after seeing this movie. Now, we all know that this isn't a character that she's playing. We all know that she's cracked the code that loud equals funny, and that she just has to be herself in these movies to make millions of dollars. She's cracked the code, so this is 100% her in this movie. This is not a character that she's playing, this is her. And she left my boy, she left our boy, our main character, Dix, out on the street with everything he owns in a trash bag. What kind of trash bag? I don't know, because this isn't the film to shove product placement down your throat. Is Aleve mentioned by name? Yes, once, and there's a giant billboard for the majority of the film in the background. Sometimes you gotta pay your bills, and Uncle Drew has to pay its dues, okay? Oh my god, I'm getting flustered, and I'm debating whether if I should just end the podcast. I kind of want to shut it all down, because if this continues to not get the reception that it deserves, then wow, and then I'm at a loss for words. Then I don't know what we're gonna do. But this film has emotional and empathetic integrity. Let me tell you, I watched a film called Lady Bird, and look, some people might complain and say, "Well, Will, you're not Greta Gerwig. You're a straight white male, and you live in the Midwest. Maybe Lady Bird wasn't written for you. You think Uncle Drew was written for me?" All right, you should see the size of my wrists, because they are spaghetti thin, folks. I am in no way a basketball player. Bit of history for your host. I played basketball from the 3rd up until the 6th grade. Was I good? Absolutely not. Was I Shaquille O'Neal level? Absolutely not. More of a Kevin Durant or Russell Westbrook level. But that is totally and honestly besides the point. I'm at a loss for words. You have 2 movies that weren't written for me, and I walk out of one wanting to make a very successful podcast. This isn't Talking Bird with You Heard. I'm not good with titles on a win, but the point being, discount Will Watson, Timothy Chalamet, and Saoirse, Saoirse Ronan, and all these movies, you know, they don't hold a flame to Uncle Drew, and the masses aren't seeing that. And this is less of a podcast and more of a madcast. And viewers, I apologize. So I think I'm gonna have to turn it in for tonight, folks. But in 1 week, this podcast will post on Monday, July 2nd. Next Monday, whatever day that is, I will have come back with even more Uncle Drew knowledge. And in the next episode, we're going to dive into what I think, honestly, is an OTP, a one true pairing. What I think is kind of so subtle, which is so great about is the subtlety of this film, is what I think is sort of an X and O's hidden love plot in the movie. Am I going to spoil it for you right now? No, but we're talking about Shaquille O'Neal and Kyrie Irving's characters, okay? Big fella and Uncle Drew. I think there's something there. So next week, folks, we're going to investigate. We're going to check up on the box office, and we're going to get your friends to see this movie, because this is the kind of film that America needs right now. I'm tired of the woke, libtardian kind of films out here that's pushing propaganda. What we need to be pushing is fun, and that's what this movie is. And it's the movie we need right now. So this is your host, Will Watson, and this has been what we call the very first episode of Talkin' Drew with you. Again, we are no way affiliated with Lionsgate, with Summit Entertainment, with Shaquille O'Neal himself, with Kyrie, with anyone involved. I will call my personal friend Nick Kroll and see if we can get him on, or at least get some kind of comment. But that's going to be it, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in. This has been Talkin' Drew with you.